Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is my Snapchat Q&A. Now, we've been asking for photos and videos and stuff like that, and it seems like I've got a load, which is a good thing. However, if you sent me one before 11 or around about 11 today, then it's saying received, but it's deleted your photo. So, apologies to everybody, and there's a lot of you who sent me some prior to that. It's got rid of your photo, so I can open it, but I can't see your photo. What a nightmare. So we will start with the first one that we've got, which is Amged. Let's open this one and see what he's saying. Do I think Rooney could hinder our chance of winning the league if he starts? That's just disappeared before I got onto the screen. I do. I do. I think the system doesn't suit Rooney too well at the moment. I think there's probably better number 10s in the club. The problem with Rooney is, and this isn't a comment on anything that he's done at the club at the past. It's a comment on what he offers to the team right now. The team's playing a certain style of football, and that style of football is to move the ball through the thirds with pace. Rooney, when it gets to him, does not accelerate that, does not do anything to that, apart from, I think he slows it down a little bit. That's my personal view. So I think, yes, if that's not employed correctly, he could hinder our chances for winning the league. Y Omar 5. It's a video, so I might have to hold this next to my speaker here so we can hear it. It's not loading. Just keep saying tap to load. Sorry, mate, you've shit out. Lambat Adu says, I want to see Mata in number 10 and Rooney dropped. I support that. Gil Waters. Oh man, all the videos, if I can show you here, say tap to load, I load them, they're not loading. I don't know what's going on with the videos. Technology, amazing when it works, isn't it? Oh man, there's more to this here. There's 3 parts. Who was the last under-18s player you looked at in the same way that I look at Gomez? I'm assuming you mean in terms of like the wow factor. There was a couple of photos there strung together to try and get the gist of it. I think. Right, let's have a think. Morrison, yes. Pogba, yes. I'm trying to think if there's been anyone in between that. I always like Ben Pearson. I like his attitude, but he's not the same sort of wow factor that you see with those. Pereira to an extent. Januzaj to an extent. Will Keane to an extent. Earlier than that, Fabian Brandy. Fabian Brandy was one that stood out, and you was like, whew. Giuseppe Rossi was another one. David Petruzzi. I don't even know where he's playing now. There's been a few that have stood out, and then obviously it's all about how you step into the first team game, isn't it? Let's see if this one's working again. Oh, we've already opened that one. Tyler Pickersgill, let's go with yours. Can you do a weekly video where you talk MMA for about 20 minutes or so on here, not MMA latest? Not at the moment, no, because any MMA content, or the majority of the MMA content that I do, we're trying to build MMA latest up as a channel, so it's got to go on MMA latest. At the moment we're doing previews on there, we are doing live watch-alongs on there. We got 1.6 million views last weekend, which is fucking phenomenal, isn't it, for a channel on 7,000 subscribers. Absolutely delighted with that. We got a ton of content from the stadium, the press conferences, the weigh-ins, all that sort of stuff did really well for us. Yeah, unfortunately, any MMA content that will be coming in here is likely to be in the vlogs and likely to be in the Sunday paper review. Apart from that, it's going to be quite football, if not United, heavy. I'm happy to answer MMA questions in the Snapchat Q&A, as long as they come up, but for standalone MMA videos, head over to MMA latest. Jack Butterworth says, who would I like to see us play in the Europa League? Now, me and Illy did the watch-along today for the draw, and we wanted Dundalk, Prague, and Tel Aviv, literally because they're absolutely banging nights out, and we've not been there and wanted to go there. Jack Isaacs with the photos. Do I think Zlatan will carry on after this season? I think Mourinho has already let the cat out of the bag that he's here for a couple. Oh, there's another one. What do I make of the Schweinsteiger situation? on one hand, it's a nightmare, isn't it? Because you think the guy is a football legend, and I'd be wounded if Scholes had gone over somewhere like Bayern Munich maybe at the end of his career and been treated the way we've been treating him. But there's no room for sentiment in the game, really. And maybe that's an indictment on the game. Nicky, will Rashford only be a rotation player and will he have an important role? And there's me on the watch along today with Illy. Yeah, I think he will be a rotation, but I think he can also have an important role being a rotation player as well. And I think to utilise the best of Rashford, you hit defence with a battering ram of Zlatan for 70 minutes, and if it's still tight, you throw on Rashford with 20 minutes to go, whose unbelievable pace and determination is game-changing. And I think at 70 minutes, you bring in Rashford on is a nightmare for teams. AJ, black screen. Okay. Kiss 04. Videos aren't loading. No idea what's going on with that. Videos aren't loading. That's a nightmare. Josh Del Hunty. Who would you bring back? Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Hay fever. Would I bring Smalling back into the team? I think that just said anyway. Not at the moment, no, because how can you drop Bailey or Blind at the moment? They're playing great. Allow Smalling to come in, get his minutes, latter stages of the game. And if one of them picks up a knock or something like that, then you've got a reason to bring him back into the team. Until then, it's a meritocracy. You've got to earn your place, and you've got to show players who are playing well that they can keep their place. Otherwise, it's madness, isn't it? I think my hay fever's about to get real bad. This is beautiful when you're doing a video. Oh, that's a good background. Was it a good thing for Rashford for him to put in the England under 21s? Bad move in my opinion. No. No, in my opinion, no. It's good to play, especially international under 21s is different to like Premier League 21s. I think that's a little bit more competitive, and a lot of other nations take it a lot more serious than we do as English. And we rush our players through them far too fast. It's a joke the way Allardyce said he was going to select on minutes and then picks Joe Hart and doesn't pick Rashford, and you're like, but we not got to rush with Rashford. Every English player ever gets rushed through, and that's why we never do well at international tournaments, I think, because we don't allow players to mature properly before throwing them in. And then they don't know what they're doing at tournaments. They don't know how to manage themselves in tournaments. And then we go, we're fucking shit at tournaments. Why are we always shit? I think you've got to take a bit more of a holistic view to it and maybe just pull them back a little bit and before really letting them go. Oran McPartland says, please come to Dundalk. We didn't get the draw, did we? We didn't get the draw. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have come to Dundalk. Lucian Morris says, what would be my starting 11 against City? Considering we've got one more game and then it is the City match is the next match and we've got just an international break in between. As much as I don't want to see Rooney in the team for a number of reasons, I would play him against City. For the leadership that he brings and his experience in those games. Whoever's fit and in form, really. I don't know. I'd like to see us go free in midfield to try and combat the amount of ball that I expect a Guardiola side to have. But I also think that I would go pace for the outlets. In a similar way to the way Fergie set United up against Real Madrid at home when we didn't go through and he's using Nani and Welbeck as the outlets and he took Rooney off. For the simple reason that he isn't that fast. Because you're going to get a work rate and a pace. When a team's going to have more possession than you, and you have to capitalise and maximise your opportunities when you're not going to have the ball. They will have more possession than us at Old Trafford. I am sure of that. We will win the game though. I am also sure of that. We have to be clinical. At the moment, Zlatan is very clinical. If Pogba starts chipping in with a couple of goals as well from midfield, awesome. Also, we have to keep Aguero quiet. Aguero's fucking brilliant. You keep Aguero quiet, and City could look very reminiscent of Manchester United the last 2 years under Van Gaal for me. Jack Clark 17 says, what aspect of Pogba's game will change United the most? It went off screen before we could get it up. This is the thing with Pogba. It's not like goal-scoring wingers where you can go, it's his dribbling, it's his finishing. It's basically it's him. It's his all-round game. It's his touch. It's his passing. It's his vision. It's his physicality. It's his engine. All of those things. It's the fact that he's a complete box-to-box midfielder and a driving force from the centre. And I think that sort of... that it's just that sheer, undeniable world-class quality that you have in the centre of a team that no one else has. As I said, I think Pogba's in the top 2 or 3. If not, he's in the conversation for who is the best midfielder in the world. When was the last time we've got that? For me, we've got the best goalkeeper in the world. I'll argue to the day I die that De Gea is better than Neuer, because I think Neuer has obvious mistakes in him. When he comes out and clears it, it's all very flashy and match of the day and eye catching. But for me, it's mistakes. I think he leads to more errors. He has less trade than David De Gea gets. David De Gea has way more trade as a goalkeeper, or he has over the last couple of years. And I think he makes less errors. I think his shot stopping is unbelievable. I think there's still areas in his game he could improve on. I think his marshalling of the back line could improve. I think his claiming of things could come out and improve. And I don't think he's perfect, and I don't think he's quite at the level Schmeichel and Van der Sar was at. But he's getting there, and he's probably, for me, the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. If we also add to that the best midfielder in the world, or the number 1 or number 2 midfielder in the world, then you're starting to build a team that's capable of doing things on the world stage. Ethan Ant, which stadium you've been to in the past has the best atmosphere? I haven't been to as many stadiums as I would like to as a neutral to really give an overview answer of that. Anfield's atmosphere is overrated. They sing together for 5 minutes while they do the Never Walk Alone thing, and then they all sit down and shut the fuck up. Old Trafford, when it's rocking, is fucking rocking. But I'm assuming you mean opposition grounds. So opposition grounds... The atmosphere in games that we've been to as United fans, as an away fan, often depends on the performance of the team on the road. Difficult to say, really, because I've had cracking days at Stoke when the team's been shit, and we was irresistible at Everton, but I was sat like quite next to the home fans, so it wasn't banging. It's entirely hard to judge, I think. I like Villa Park, but I think that's for the atmosphere United bring more than the atmosphere that exists at Villa Park, because the home fans are just... It's the same as anywhere. Anywhere you go, you just think the home fans are just dicks, don't you? So, I don't know. Really hard to judge. I would have to go to a lot of games as a neutral to be able to judge that. And hopefully when we get cracking on the 92 Club thing, I'll be able to give a decent answer on that. Jamie TWY says, which footballers would you think make the best UFC fighters? We did this for TFR, and I wanted to say Zlatan, because he's a black belt in Taekwondo, and they wouldn't let me have Zlatan as the answer because they said that's too obvious. I was like, well, that's the answer. 6'5", hard as fuck, black belt in Taekwondo. That's the guy who's going to make the best UFC fighter. Outside of that, Wes Brown, I believe, does judo, and so does Chris Smalling. So those two have got to be up there. And from what I saw of Paul Pogba looks like he's doing a bit of Muay Thai, at least. So Paul Pogba. I am sure there's a Brazilian black belt out there in Jiu-Jitsu. And if there is, probably one of those as well. There you go, Zlatan. Jack Francis says, should he have tried hard to keep Ronaldo at the club? Yeah, I think we probably should have. But it's one of them, if it was his dream to go to Madrid, then there's no point in keeping a player who doesn't want to be there. And at the time, 80 million sounded awesome, didn't it? But how much would you pay for a guy that scored more than a goal a game for 7 seasons? Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Shea Power. Just a photo. Tom MUFC. You think Rashford will play all the cup games and he will play all the league games? I have to say I don't know, because Mourinho seems to have a very, very settled team in terms of what I've seen him do at Chelsea, and that he goes for the League Cup and stuff like that with a very strong side. So his rotation policy? We're going to find out, aren't we? I hope there is some sort of rotation policy. I'm not convinced that there is a rotation policy, though. Which club would you pick to send a youngster on loan? I'd pick Hull City. I think Hull City is a great shout at the moment while they're struggling for players, because they can backfill as instant first choice or first choice backup for whatever position. But yeah, I think Hull City would be a decent shout. Mike Phelan clearly knows Manchester United, so he knows what he would be getting in terms of players, in terms of character and general abilities that you get. Clubs obviously have certain characteristics that they scout and recruit for. So I think that Mickey Phelan, based off the first 2 games, you give him the job permanently, don't you? I mean, I don't know what the situation is there with him and that. G Hurst 1997 says, you think we should expand Old Trafford to rival Barcelona, Real Madrid and Wembley? Yes. I think if you add a mirror image of the North Stand plus the execs, which everyone never adds up when they're adding up how much the stadium's going to come to, plus the quadrants, it comes to about 96,500. For me, you've got to push the boat out and get those extra 3,500 seats in there and make it triple figures. Maybe make it like 103, 104, something like that. So it's over 100 every single week, because there'll be segregation for the aways and stuff like that. And I would, if I was in charge, I would also then move or turn East and West lower, Stretford End lower, just the very lower sections into safe standing sections, and just go for unallocated seating, cheaper ticketing for up to 21 or 25-year-olds, flags the fucking lot, and just let people go bananas right behind the goals, either end, generate some fucking noise. Because I've sat on both sides of the ground, and you can see the Stretford End from the East End, and they're all clapping, can't hear a fucking thing, and vice versa. When you're in the Stretford End, you can't hear the away fans, you can't hear the singing section, and you think, oh, this fucking ground's atmosphere is shit, but you can hear yourself where you are. You're like, we're making loads of noise, they're fucking quiet. And it's not the case. It's actually quite loud wherever you are in the pitch. I don't know what it's like for the players, actually, because they're obviously in the middle of all that lot. Can they hear it better than we can? I don't know, but the acoustics in Old Trafford trap the sound in. I think because of the height of the roofs, it just sort of sucks it into the top of the roofs. You can't hear the other side of the pitch, which is madness. That's why away fans always think they're dead loud and that they can't hear anything inside Old Trafford. They've got a roof directly over them, and then you've got all the big open space, all the rest around of it, and it's not the case. You actually can't hear the away fans from, apart from K-Stand, you can't really hear them anywhere else in the ground. It's madness. So I would definitely go for that. Oh shit. I've got a really itchy nose now for this fucking hay fever. I'd definitely get it over 100. You've got to have it over 100, haven't you? And I know that we would fill it. You make it slightly cheaper tickets, get a load of kids in there, because I worry where the culture of going to the matches with the game. I reckon I was probably the last generation of people who sort of went to the match at 17, 18 with your mates. And even that was like on season tickets and stuff. So it's so hard. You've got to stump up for a season ticket. How do you apply with your mate? Do you apply together? There's a lot of problems in having massive season ticket numbers at the club. It's weird, isn't it? So unallocated seating, so lads can turn up. You're probably not going to be able to do it on a day, but do it, buy memberships and bring them in on memberships. That's the way to do it. And have unallocated safe standing and go fucking bananas in there. Get a right atmosphere going. Because that's why aways are great atmospheres, because no one fucking stands where their ticket says. They go, where are you? I'm in that block. Well, I'll fucking come and stand with you then. And that's where you get loads of groups of mates, and that's where you get the atmosphere from. Kieran Buckley, how long was I in the army for? I did just under 7 years. It's a long fucking time. And up, Thuhan says, do you ever see Manchester United being bought by different owners? One day, son. One day I'm going to buy it. How's that? Probably not going to buy it. Sammy Chowdhury says, how many years do you think it'll take till we see Angel in the first team? He won't do it before he's 18, I don't think. Although the technical ability is there, the size, the strength, the fitness, that's all going to take a little bit of time, I think. Massive season this, though. I mean, he probably could. You're going to have a better idea after you see him as a full season in the under-18s and how he's coping, because there's some right big fuckers in the under-18s. And if he can cope with that, he can probably cope with open-age football. I think you're going to see him dragged into the under-23s, probably not this year, but certainly next year, a couple of times to test the water and find out how ready he is, because the under-23s obviously is another step up from the under-18s. That'll be where you get the gauge from. Ewan Thomas says, who do you think will have the most goals out of Zlatan, Aguero and Costa? Not Costa. Aguero if he stays fit, but he won't stay fit. So I think it's Zlatan. As mad as that sounds. I think he'll probably do it this year. Nadim, and I'm not even pronouncing your surname, mate. Predictions for La Liga. I haven't looked at it too closely this year. You've obviously got the big three of Atletico, Real Madrid and Barcelona. I don't know. The way Suarez is scoring, how can you look past Barcelona at the moment? I mean, I don't like the guy. I'm never going to like the guy. But I have to take my hat off and say he is bagging for fun. Ben Jabuni says, grocery stores now selling Pokebuns. Has it gone too far? Pokemon missed me, mate. I was too old for it. I don't get it. Ooh, Martian says, best book you've read on United's history. The Duncan Edwards one's pretty good, as is Bobby Charlton's autobiography. I don't know if I've read one that's an overall view of Manchester United, though. There's a couple on certain eras that focus on certain subjects. I mean, United's history is so vast, isn't it? There was one that I read when I was a kid, which got me hooked, really, which was Backpage United. I was like 7 or 8, and it was a big book, like this sort of size. Big hardback book, loads of pictures in, match reports, match reviews of, when we beat Anderlecht 10-0, loads of it on Munich, loads of it talking about the 80s, the very early Ferguson years. So this was like probably 92, 93 when I read it, 94 possibly. That was class, reading that from back to front, front to back, several times. That was a quality book. You'd probably still find that a bit, actually. Connor Love 31 says, your opinion on Celtic's chances in the Champions League. You're going to finish second in that group. How's that? Brendan Rodgers is a fucking idiot. So, by the same rule, you're probably going to get dicked. He's going to try and go toe-to-toe with Guardiola in and lose. And I would love it if he beat him. Without getting all Kevin Keegan. Craig Kane 2001 says, who are your top 3 Manchester United players? Considering you say Memphis, De Gea and Marshall, I'm assuming that you mean 3 players right now. Pogba, easily number 1. I like Marshall. Luke Shaw seems like a quality footballer. I don't know. I don't really have favourite players. If you want to go all time, it's Eric Cantona and that's it. Dan Mulroy, new podcast soon. Yeah, I'm just being lazy, mate, and not really getting my ass over there and getting one done and lining guests up. In fact, I'm not being lazy at all. I'm fucking super busy. It is 9 o'clock on Friday, and I've been working since 7, and I'm still not done. So, Callum Day says, do you think he's right? He's the best right back in the world, maybe with Dani Alves on Ander Herrera talking about Valencia. No, I don't think he's right, but he's playing very, very, very well at the moment and being very effective in what he's being asked to do. I think defensively he lacks a hell of a lot. So no, I don't think he's the best fullback in the world. He's playing well though. Can't drop him. Darius Nugent, what do I think of Rooney? He's our Gerrard, has to play, still offers a lot. I don't think he does have to offer that much, in all honesty. And he's our Gerrard. You mean he's the selfish player that's playing for himself rather than for the benefit of the team? Yes, I would agree that he probably is our Gerrard. And probably should be moved on quicker the way Gerrard should have been moved on quicker as well. No room for sentiment in football. Sentiment fucks everybody's career eventually. Not many people can bow out like Cantona at the top, and in all honesty, Cantona could have carried on for several more years, but he didn't. He fucked it off at 31. Crazy. Corbin Bellamy says, do you think Jose should use Rashford as our main striker in Europa League? We've already sort of covered that one a little bit earlier, didn't we? I don't know if he rotates or not, but I do think he should be used off the bench 100%. Nathan Foston, do you expect Mourinho to go for the Europa League and play fringe players? Same questions again. No idea if he does. Daniel Hollidge, the best game I've seen I'm assuming you mean live. Best game I've seen live. The Real Madrid game in 2003, which we won but lost on aggregate with Ronaldo scoring 3 goals, was mint. Roma 7-1 in 2007 was fucking mint. Porto at home in 97 4-0 was mint. Those are the standout ones that I think, for football reasons, pure football reasons, the best game ever. The best game ever, I think there's an argument. I wasn't there live. Saw it on TV. Was Arsenal at the Emirates. I think it was not the Emirates, at Highbury. And it was the one where John O'Shea scored the chip. And I think it was the one where Roy Keane gave it the old, I'll fucking see you out there, to Patrick Vieira. And I didn't know that had happened. But that was one of the best games of football. I think it was 4-2. That was one of the best games of football ever. Proper old school United Arsenal rivalry. Like 2002, 2004 even. Something like that. What a fucking game of football that was. Apart from that, some of the treble season games was fucking bananas, wasn't there? I mean, for storyline, not necessarily for the football content. I think what those are mentioned, that Real Madrid game was class. And as with the Roma game, that Roma 7-1 game was one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen at Old Trafford, because it went off outside with the police and the Roma fans, which led to inside having a fucking unreal atmosphere. Flux the Man says, if I could sign anyone to partner Pogba, who? Tony Cruz or Kraus. I think they'd play quality together. Clint Thrasher says, how would I feel about a 4-4-2 at United, and who would I play? I think Marshall's been drifting in quite a lot, and I like how he drifts in quite a lot, because Zlatan vacates the traditional number 9 spot, apart from when we're throwing crosses, and he gets himself in for that. But as we're doing the build-up play around the box, Zlatan comes out of the box, and often you see Marshall going in there, and I think if you give him that license, I mean, Marshall's in the box quite a lot anyway, so it's not like you're going to lose too much from him. But if you had another winger then providing the crosses from the left-hand side, you might really see some stuff. I'd love to go back to 2 up front. That's football as I remember it. Is strike partnerships, even Sutton and Shearer, Cole and York. That was what it was all about, wasn't it? Strike partnerships. Ian Wright and Dennis Bergkamp. Let's see if this video works. From G Westwood 22. It's just saying loading. I'm guessing probably not. Tap to load. Tap it. Still says loading. Looks like the videos haven't worked this time. Rafs99 says, what was the name of the Duncan Edwards book that you recommended? And we've already spoke about it tonight. It's called The Greatest by James Layton. I think it's in there, I'm reading this one at the moment. And it's a little bit heavy going. It's called Studying Football. The people who wrote it have written it to be a course for a degree. So it's degree level studying of football. It's fairly thick. And I'll just run through some of the subjects in here for you. And it is, as you can imagine with like a degree level subject, it goes into weird shit. So it's not really the sort of thing that you would just find interesting just casually. So it's got talks about violence, globalization, fandom, racism, gender, identity, media, celebrity consumption, transgression, and corruption. So it's quite a strange array of topics. Not the sort of thing that you'd normally think, like formations and tactics and history and that sort of thing. So Studying Football by Elias Cashmore and Kevin Dixon. It's interesting. It's kind of heavy going though. But I am enjoying that one. That's what I'm reading at the moment. It's taking me a while. Oh, we're on the last 2. We've made it to the top. Amelia Laken. Blank screen. And Thor, last one. Who of the reserves 18 will be in the first team in 5 years' time? So the 5 years, you're looking at 20s. I think there's a chance Joe Riley could be. And 1 or 2 of the defenders coming through in terms of Tuanzebe, Roshan, Terrell Warren. I would think in 5 years' time, Angel Gomez will be 20, just about to turn 21. There's a good chance that he's going to be in the first team by then. Pereira possibly, 25. You would hope he's established himself as a first team player by then. Who else are we looking at for that though? We are looking at in the 18s. Don't know where they're going to develop. That's the problem, is you don't know how they're going to develop. And players can come from nowhere. Riley, a couple of years ago, as 16-year-old, 17-year-old, was quite average, and this work rate and the energy, it's new. It's new to his game. It's something he's clearly worked on. He's worked on his fitness. He's worked on his abilities. He's possibly watched and learnt from maybe like Luke Shaw, because Luke Shaw's a very intense sort of fullback as well. And he's developed his game. So it's going to be who's going to put the work in. And I've mentioned this a few times before, like Tyler Blackett is a lad that I got time for, because every player that ends up being class. Now, to get into an academy, you're looking at a 1% player. So he's the best player in his area. He was easily the best player in his school, but he's probably the best player in his area to get the chance to get into United's academy. Easily. Everyone who would have played with him would have been like, Tyler was the best player we ever saw. That's how hard it is to get into the academy in the first place. And to have not washed out at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 or 17 means that you're also a 1%er in the academy, because they will go through hundreds of kids coming in on trial, coming in lasting 6 months, coming in lasting a year, coming in lasting 2 years, and washing out. So you're a 1%er of the 1%ers that are making the club. And then to make the first team, you're looking at 1%. If you're bringing through one first team player every 4 years, out of every squad of 25 that comes through as an under 16s into the under 18s, 1%. So you're looking at 1% of the 1% of the 1%, which is a fraction that I'm not even going to fucking try and come up with. And Tyler's clearly not made it at United. He's been sold to Reading. But what I hear about those who do make it is that they're already the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And then they've got this work ethic. So you can get so far with natural gifted talent and ability. The ones who are going to make it, the 1% of the 1% of the 1% who actually go on and make it to the first team, you always hear of them needing to do extra stuff. You always hear David Beckham stay behind after training with Cantona. I mean, fucking hell, what a treat. Cantona needed someone to deliver crosses for him. David Beckham and Paul Scholes was the lads that he used to get to put balls in for him, and he used to practice his shooting. Eric Cantona, 29, 30 years of age, used to stay behind and do extra training. The Arsenal players that you talk to, I think Ray Parlour mentions it, Ian Wright mentions it. Dennis Bergkamp had the best touch that they'd ever seen. Dennis Bergkamp used to stay behind and ask them youngsters at Arsenal to fire balls into him, and he would practice. The turn that he does where he goes one way and the ball went the other way, that was practice. That wasn't an accident. He practiced that in training. He would practice receiving the ball in between two defenders and turning and getting a shot off. He would practice extra. So you got your team training, they would stay behind and do extra. Now, what we was hearing about Tyler Blackett a year ago, was that he was getting Nicky Butt to come in during the summer. When everyone else was off, Tyler Blackett was in, and he had Nicky Butt in there training with him. And I also hear that he's at Mick Clegg's gym down in Ashton, and he's doing additional training, strength and conditioning training, agility training, flexibility training. That, to me, tells me that on top of the natural ability that I see in him as well, I think he lacked a little bit of aggression. He's gone now to work with Yapstam, who's known for fucking no-nonsense, hard man defending. If anyone's going to teach Tyler Blackett that last bit that I think he needs, it's Yapstam. And if he gives him games and he gives him time, you're going to see I think he can get in the England squad, whether it be a starter for England or something like that. Tyler Blackett lasts no more than 2 years at Reading before a Premier League team snaps him up. And I'm looking at the likes of Stoke, Leicester, Tottenham possibly. Someone along those. Not sure he could end up at Arsenal. Probably won't end up at City. Don't think he'd come back to United. But I'm thinking that sort of level, top half Premier League team, would maybe Everton, someone like that, is going to pick him up in a couple of years when he's 23, 24, and he's going to look like a top footballer, and he will get into the England squad if he gets games under Yapstam at the moment, because his career stalled last year going to Scotland and not getting a fucking game. If he gets games, I am sure Tyler Blackett will be back, because the things that I hear about him, his attitude is fucking bang on. And I saw up close and personal in the friendly against Salford a few weeks ago. He was angry. He was playing angry. And he was putting balls in. He was putting challenges in. And he was cutting himself about the pitch in a way that I didn't see before. So whether it was a bit of a realisation at Celtic that this is not all going to get just given to you. You're going to have to go and fucking take some stuff. I'm going to need to be ruthless. Then I think that's... I don't even know how we ended up on this, but whatever. I like Tyler. I like his attitude. I think he's got the building blocks of being a great centre-half. I know Rio Ferdinand has been mentoring him. If he can get Yapstam mentoring him as well, and I know all the additional work that he's been doing, if he takes that sort of attitude, I am sure he's destined for the top. Because you hear a lot about footballers, they go in, they fuck about, they do training, they fuck off home. Or they go home, they do whatever. The ones that hit that peak, the ones that hit that top are the ones that put the work in. And Tyler puts the work in. And I think there's some likes of like Riley and stuff, it's obvious that they've been putting the work in. If you hear of a player doing extra training, it usually leads to something really good. Luke Shaw, I believe he was doing extra training, and the guy's fucking quality. Anyway, that will do for this week's Snapchat Q&A. Enjoy the rest of your... By the time this gets out, probably won't be much left of it, of your Friday evening. We do have a game tomorrow. There will be a review out for that afterwards. One on Full Time Devils and hopefully one on here as well. If I've got something different to say, I might try and make it a bit more stat-based on this if I can. And then Sunday paper review. So daily upload's going well. Still about 150 off the 20k. Let's get to the fucking 20k. Your shares and your fucking telling your mates if you enjoy what you see is making a huge difference. So once again, thank you. Please hit that like button. The like button really helps it get found in searches and stuff like that, as does comments and interactions and stuff like that. So as much comments as you can help, and I will reply to as many as I can. And we'll be back next Friday with another Snapchat Q&A. Nice one.